I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
That's Booby.
And this is Culpy on his last leg. See him? Oh. We'll probably have to bring back one of the salties or something. Oh no, we already have a salty here. Okay, well there will be an empty spot on our table. They don't last forever. Okay, we are gonna do some Iron Maiden. We haven't done some Iron Maiden in a while, so, oh, damn it. Remember yesterday one of the kids brought you one of the headphones? It was mine, actually.
Yeah.
So we shall return when I get my headphones.
Ready?
We're back.
Okay, so our Iron Maiden
2 minutes to midnight.
haven't done these brothers in quite some time. Okay, so Iron Maiden 2 minutes to midnight. This is 1984. Good Lord. That's pretty crazy to me.
That is crazy. I wasn't even born yet.
2 minutes to midnight. Iron Maiden.
Probably wasn't even a twinkle in my, what do they say, father's eye? Or mother's eye? What do they say?
Yeah, well, let's just keep going. Okay, so here we go. Iron Maiden. We haven't listened to these brothers in quite some time.
Why are you so choppy? Hey, if you want to find out what's going on politically and you want to get some, like, middle America type stuff that it's not all for the left or all for the right, but you want to check that out, that is Middle America with Vin and Sori.
It was funny on the Hassan Piker video. You could see the comments. One guy, they're literally on top of each other. One guy's like, Vin, blah, 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 right-wing talking points, yada, yada, yada. And then literally right below it, it's, you've gone too liberal.
See? We're toe in the middle here.
I love it. See right there?
The Biden one was fun, I thought.
You're splitting semantic here while making points of this guy's claims, right? And then right under it, you've gone too liberal.
Well, there you have it.
My work is done here.
Yes. So if you want to, and we also do a lot of our firesides there. So if you're interested in seeing the firesides, that's like our live streams. Go on that channel, and that's where you want to subscribe. And also, for our Patreon people, you have got to go on and check out the video that the kids made. I edited it, but the kids made it, and it is friggin' unbelievable. Dorian does like an impression of the Joker, and it's terrifyingly accurate, I believe.
It's top notch.
I was like, wait, why are you so good at that?
I'm concerned.
I was legit concerned. He was like, why are you so scared? I'm like, okay, so anyway, check that out. That's in there for y'all. Oh my gosh, I have something funny to tell you later.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so yeah, we're going to start this now and crank it up if you want to hear this. I'm sure it's going to be good, so.
I think this is the first Iron Maiden song we've heard with these things.
Ooh, go. Ah! What an idiot. Speaking of idiot, we had to get a lot of help to get out of the escape room yesterday. That was embarrassing, so. Go. Yikes. That's sad.
Well, it's sad how pertinent it still is.
Yeah.
I think for me right now, the highlight of the Trump presidency is the fact that he wouldn't bomb Saudi Arabia.
Me too. Yeah. That he even asked the question surprised me.
I was talking to somebody and they're like, tell me one good thing Trump has done. I was like, well, he didn't bomb. No, it's Iran. I was like, well, he didn't bomb those Iranians. And he was like, what do you mean? We avoided a potential war for now. That's good. I think Americans are so... Some of this is just people can't say anything nice about Trump because they've got Trump derangement syndrome. But I think some of this is... I really believe that Americans don't really understand what we do all over the world.
Yeah.
I don't think they get it.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I say, yeah, Obama authorized 26,000 drone strikes, and 2 or 3 weeks ago, Trump authorized a strike, killed a woman at her wedding. So
That
it's
just
like,
happened?
yeah, it was a couple weeks ago, yeah. So we keep killing these people when they're trying to get married. So it's like Americans, we're just so used to just bombing the hell out of people and hearing that we drone people and all that. Yeah, like, no biggie.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that he didn't do that to those Iranians, but I think it was terrible that he authorized that and killed those Afghanis. I don't even know why we're still in Afghanistan. I know all the talking points about why we're still in Afghanistan. We can't get anybody health care, but we definitely have the capital to fund. What did the CIA guy say? He said, you know, the world's a better place when America's a benevolent empire, basically. He said.
Yeah, when he said, like, basically, to the tune of, okay, as the madmen play on words and make us all dance to their song to the tune of starving millions to make a better kind of gun, I was like, yeah.
Well, I definitely, yeah. Well, you know, it's a typical thing where, you know, it's funny considering the last video we did in Middle America with Hassan Piker.
Yeah.
Who said a bunch of, you know, Hassan Piker is one of those people. He's actually one of the worst kinds of people because if you go past the craziness of what he said and you look underneath to the core of what he was trying to say, you know, he was really... American foreign policy is, what did that guy say? There's this documentary called Dirty Wars. You should watch it. It was really cool. Dirty Wars was one of the first times I saw anybody really call out Obama for the extrajudicial killing of Anwar al-Awlaki. This guy's name is Jeremy Scahill. He's an independent reporter. And he actually went to Yemen and talked to al-Awlaki's father. Yeah, and he talked about how, you know, Al-Awlaki got sent to an agency black site and he got radicalized there. I mean, they treated him pretty terribly, and, you know, Muslims operate from a shame honor culture, and they treated him very terribly, and then after that, man, forget it, he was never the same person. And then Obama drone bombed him into smithereens. And then Abdul Rahman, his 16-year-old son, he went and killed him a couple months later. You know, and then Trump authorized, at the very, very beginning of his presidency, he authorized the DevGru raid that ended up killing his daughter, Al-Awlaki's daughter. Yeah,
wow.
Little girl, blew her head off. So it's just like,
oh gosh,
you know, that African dude was like, yo, like the rest of the world knows, like Americans are war masters, like they don't want smoke with us, but we're just running around beating the hell out of people all over the place. So now what if Al-Awlaki has another son that we don't know about? His dad, his brother, and his little sister got killed all in front of him. What do you think he's gonna do? Like,
yeah,
it's this weird thing where, you know, and this is, you know, that's not the point of this particular, you know, this to me just seems like our penchant for war. You know, the
I don't even think it's just America. It's people in general.
The doomsday clock is the idea, right? I don't know if you've heard of the doomsday clock, but
no, I haven't.
Ever since nuclear proliferation began to happen, basically, there's this sort of like metaphorical clock, and the clock is ticking, and like when it hits 12, there's going to be so much nuclear proliferation and so much tension that it's basically, we've now amassed enough of an arsenal to completely lay waste to life on Earth as we know it. And so that's the concept of the doomsday
so 2
clock.
minutes to midnight is basically 2 minutes till the end of everything.
It's 11:58, right.
But then it says it was midnight all night. So then it just goes on and on, the destruction stuff.
Well, yeah.
Midnight, it's all night.
Well, once you hit midnight, there's going to be nothing but night because everybody's going to be dead. Is how I interpret that. So, like, obviously, as an American, and people say, like, why do you criticize America so much? It's like, well, because I'm in America. I'm not in, if I was in Suriname, I would criticize Suriname if we were doing crazy stuff as Surinamese, but we're not. We're Americans. But I feel like America has the ability to push us, an extra 30 seconds in one direction or another. Because we're currently the lone superpower on the face of the earth.
No, I agree with that.
But at the same time, this seems to me to be about like,
with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you're young and you're hot-blooded, like, you want to fight. And I think there's a lot of older folks who have, financial goals. I think, back in the day when you were talking about empire, it was, a group of people trying to ascertain as much land as possible.
Yep.
And so you had, like the famous phrase, the sun never sets on the British Empire. And that was the source of pride for the British people. Like, hey, but, post-Geneva Convention, nobody wants to say that there's an American empire. That's actually now used as a pejorative.
Okay.
Whereas the Brits were using that as a pride thing, And so now you can't say that, so you've got to kind of build empire in different ways. And now empire isn't about American supremacy in the sense of, we're ruling the world. It's a group of, plutocrats who control everything, who are doing it for their personal gain. Now, going and conquering a group of people and doing horrible things to them in the name of your country, I think is still terrible. But at some degree, it's like, it's bigger than just yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Whereas now these people are like sending kids to war and everything just for themselves individually. It's not even about America. They use America and American exceptionalism to dupe people like us, but they don't give a damn about America or American exceptionalism.
Yeah.
All they care about is amassing resources for themselves. And so to me, it's like we've got the worst kind of empire builders in America. But it's still the concept of, the glamour, the fortune, the pain. Go to war again, blood is freedom's stain. And that's that line right there when you talk about blood and freedom and liberty.
Yes, I know. That was a good line too. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's a constant line in America. It's freedom and fought for our freedom and fought for our freedom. And look, everybody knows my feelings about, the military, and people kind of put things together. Like, I'm obviously, it is impossible for me to be anti-military. However, a lot of the terms that are used to justify, like, if my brother would have gotten deployed to Iraq when he was in the Marine Corps, he wouldn't be fighting for our freedom. The Iraqis aren't doing anything to impose on our freedom. But that's all we were hearing on Fox News, fighting for freedom, fighting for liberty. They keep us free. What are you talking about? The lone super maybe Putin, whose country is like 14% of the GDP of California. Maybe he is coming to destroy.
And they have superior weapons.
Sadat, they're still walking around with those refurbished tanks that they had when they tried to beat the Taliban in the 80s. Like, come on, bro. So I don't know, man. It's like, don't you pray for my soul anymore. It's like, it's not his soul per se that we'd have to be praying for. It's the soul of like the world per se, because the blind men shall let the creatures out. We'll show the unbelievers. And napalm screams of human flames. Yikes! Napalm. I'm pretty sure napalm was banned as a human rights violation and a war crime. After, you know what's interesting? So this is 1984, right?
Yeah.
So if you go back 20 years, that they were closer to Vietnam, right? In 84 than we were to 9/11 right now.
Oh wow.
Right?
Yep.
So they still remember napalm and all the rest of it. And napalm was terrible, man. It was like one of the worst. It was one of the absolute worst, terrible ways to die.
Oh, gosh.
And then it says of a primetime Belsen feast, which I'm assuming he's talking about Bergen-Belsen in Germany, or Germany or Poland. It was a concentration camp. It was a notorious one, Bergen-Belsen. I'm pretty sure he had Auschwitz was like the most famous one, and then you had Bergen-Belsen, which was terrible. People were dying of typhoid like by the hundreds every day. It was just a horrible, horrible place.
Wow.
As the reasons for the carnage, cut their meat and lick the gravy. We'll oil the joys of the war machine,
The jaws.
of the war machine, and feed it with our
That
babies.
line was crazy.
Ooh. You know, people just willy-nilly going into war. You know, like,
Yeah.
And you know, watching Jimmy Dore was really one of the first times I really saw how, because I usually had the stereotype of Fox News or warmongers. You know, left-wingers are doves and all that. And then, you know, it was really Jimmy Dore, oddly enough, that opened my eyes. And he showed these two clips of how liberals and how conservatives were reacting to Trump not going after these Iranians, or Trump talking about pulling out of Syria and whatever. And it's like, and then of all people, Tucker Carlson is like, why do we need to stay in Syria? Why do we need to bomb these people? Why should we have bombed the Iranians? It's like, what?
Yeah.
But then the rest, and Jimmy Dore's like, I don't know how Tucker Carlson is able to say all this stuff and still remain on the channel. But then, of course, Tucker Carlson will lose his mind and say crazy stuff. You know, like, it's just weird. But like, you know, the Democrats were criticizing Trump for not bombing those Iranians, and Republicans were criticizing him. And then they brought in this stooge who was talking about, you know, Syria and how we need to stay in Syria and all that. And Carlson's like, why? Why do we need to stay in Syria? It's just weird, man. Like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, now we've got, you know, the media wasn't as ubiquitous in '84 as it is now. You know, you didn't have, you know, 4 or 5 networks that were doing 24/7 news cycles.
Right.
You didn't have YouTube and all that.
I was going to say, and YouTube is a big one.
Yeah, so when it's talking about killing unborn babies in the womb, I'm pretty sure he's not talking about abortion here. He's just talking about, you know, a nuclear, where you know, you have pregnant women that are getting vaporized.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
what I got from that too.
Nuclear war. And it's a horrifying thing. And you know, the way that we teach nuclear warfare is when you teach history. Like, when I was taught about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, is Mr. Antisico in the 7th grade at 9th grade at Truman High School. When he taught us about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, he said it was always framed as this ended the war and saved a bunch of American lives, which it did. Because if we had to go on land in Japan, it would have been bad. So it was always put in that, it was always framed in that, you know, context. So to me, it was like, we were all like, oh, well, okay. You know, we weren't told about the actual horrors of what a nuclear, and the arbitrary nature. It wasn't, Hiroshima actually wasn't the initial target. I forgot the city that was the actual target, but it was too cloudy.
Oh, that's right.
So they said, oh, okay, well, just go over there. It's just like, it's just crazy. And you know, it's easy for me to say that in 2019 versus being the decision makers back in World War II and, you know, thinking to yourself, okay, we're going to have to, you know, we're going to lose X amount of people. If we do this, we could still win. Now, what I would say is, well, why was it okay for the Russians to pay that human cost? Because the Russians basically carried us, you know, in all of us as far as human cost goes and taking a stand. A lot of people, because, you know, the communist revolution kind of was like, you know, on the heels of it, the Russians never get any credit. Now, of course, I'm going to be called a Russian bot by some of these people, guaranteed. But, like, why was it... Stop it! Why was it okay for the Russians to lose all their kids? You know what I'm saying? But, like, with us, it's like, nah, we're just going to nuke you, fam. You know, but, and again, it definitely broke the spirit and the will of the... Of the Japanese, who were very, very proud people, and yeah, definitely. But I mean, I think it's it's more complex than just saying it saved a bunch of American lives, and so that justifies those two nuclear bombs. Like, I, you know, and again, I'm saying it's easy for us to say that now looking back. Being a decision maker at that time, I wouldn't trade places with that person at all.
No, yeah.
But I don't think Americans understand the absolute horror of what we did. You know, I was watching, it was a show.
Leave that there because I have something to say about that piece.
It was a show on HBO one time that was talking about the war or whatever, and there was a journalist, and the journalist was basically like, okay, we basically have to do this to these people, but we shouldn't be happy about it, basically was the point, because there were a lot of people going, oh, we're going to show you. And a lot of it was weird, like the way they portrayed a couple of guys, because it was basically like, we spent so much time trying to perfect this thing, we want to use it.
That's really, yeah.
And that's one of the problems of having these weapons.
Yeah.
Is it's just human nature when you spend years and years and years on something, and it starts as a theory on a blackboard, and you're able to take those theories and bring them into the real world, into a tangible, corporeal thing, then, you know, you want to use it.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And it's the same thing with when you train and you train and you train and you train and you train, you want to fight.
No, I mean, I know it makes sense. It's just terrible to, you know.
Well, yeah. So
it's not like testing out a theory that's going to make it so that way you can feed more people or you can save more people. It's like literally, it is about death, and the better that thing is, the more that it kills.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure, wasn't that when they dropped it? It was very, very like, it wasn't just a quick death. It was like peeling skin and like all kinds of...
Well, it depends on where you were in connection with the blast radius. And then it also... The worst part about it was the people that survived, but then were completely... you know, they were exposed to some really carcinogenic and... You know, it was a pretty terrible, terrible way. We devastated that place for an entire generation. So, yeah, but what were you going to say about...
Well, I don't think that it actually makes sense now that I'm re-looking at it, but when I heard 2 minutes to midnight to kill the unborn in the womb, to me it was like... I knew midnight had to do with like the devastation of like war and stuff like that, but to me it was like to kill the unborn in the womb, it's like... Because we haven't figured out a way to stop killing each other, we're inevitably going to kill the unborn in the womb. Like, it's almost like their fate is sealed because, as she's pregnant, like, that child is quite possibly going to grow up to fight in some sort of a, what I mean? Like, especially when you have the concept of, like, for me, like, having a son, like, looking at Orion and the way that he's constructed even at only 4 months, and the type of spirit that he has, I'm like, he would be one that would probably want to be a fighter, you know what I mean? Like, he's not docile, he's got, like, this energy, so I'm just like, just...
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, if he was 18 when 9/11 happened and saw it on TV, he'd say the same thing. Yeah. Okay, motherfucker. Okay. Yeah. Like... Yeah. The body bag, and it talks about the jellied brains of those who remain to put their finger right on you. I don't know what he means by jellied brains, but TBI is huge. It doesn't get talked about as much as PTSD does, but between combat fatigue and PTI and PTSD, I mean, you want to talk about jellied brains. Dudes are, yeah. you know, nobody's ever really the same after that situation. You know, it's just a matter of degrees to which your brain has been jellied, and the crazy, you know, machinations that you have to go through in your mind to justify what you did.
Yeah.
Also counts as a jellied brain. What do you give the song?
9.6.
Yeah, it's a 9.5 for me. Good song, tragically relevant.
Yeah.
More relevant now than it was back then, for sure.
Yeah.
But I believe in a good future. So
As do I.
So do I. You have to see the good future, dear listener. Otherwise, you're gonna be all angry and stuff. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Down.